Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Let's start our video with the story in which our OP took revenge for his defenseless neighbor for 3 years. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Helping old neighbor with her lawn. Wholesome. My older neighbor, who we'll call May, was too old to mow. She had a riding mower but wasn't strong enough to turn the steering wheel. Her son was effing done with her bee-butt and had completely stopped mowing her grass. He stopped because he wanted paid almost $400 a week to cut the grass and occasionally weed the flower bed. She refused. So here she was, a 73-year-old woman unable to cut the grass with our old a-hole neighbors looming over her shoulder. Context: they reported anything. Uncut grass, ratty plants, even not filling the flower beds would get a report to the people who privately ran the neighborhood. She called out for help with flyers, but that idea quickly fell apart when someone robbed her garden shed while doing the work. She was screwed. The threat of eviction loomed over her head. I witnessed the whole thing. I never really talked to her, so I helped her. She had a list of things to be done. Filling the flower bed, I filled it with dandelions, which quickly took over the whole neighborhood. Every lawn was a sea of yellow. Hiding the garbage cans, put up a fence with about 6 inches between each board. Technically, the cans were behind a fence, but still plainly visible. Mowing the grass? This was the best part. I took the muffler off her lawnmower and ran that damn thing well past 6 or 7 in the afternoon. I did this for 3 years every summer before she eventually passed. It was so out of the blue when I went to her house and she was gone and the house was empty. She left me what she had left, $200 for everything. The a-hole neighbors ended up moving out because of me. And our second story. The primary account holder, wife, must complete the transaction for security purposes. Both my wife and I share the same cellular account because cheaper family plans. She's the primary line on the account, thus has final say on what happens on the account, and I'm merely an authorized user. I can do most things myself without her needing to be physically present. This happens when both of us decide to take a jaunt to the mall, and I decide after paying off a previous device on our account to grab a tablet, seeing as I've been wanting one for a while. Now, most would assume in a lot of cases here that the husband is the person who's savvy and will shut a salesperson down, and the wife is the person that could potentially be talked into whatever. At least I think that's what the rep we dealt with thought. Anyway, we roll into Carrier Store. I tell them what I want, present my ID, and they pull up the account. They haven't yet figured out that my wife is the woman that's with me, and that's whose account we're dealing with. Before they roll off to the back to grab the tablet, the rep asks me if I want to add the upgrade plan/insurance to the purchase. I decline. I don't have a need for insurance on a tablet of all things. He runs off to the back, grabs the tablet, comes back and tries to sell me on the insurance again, plus accessories. I decline again. This time he cuts in with, "Are you sure it's a really good deal?" "Yes, I'm sure. But you can upgrade every 3 months." "No, I'm fine." That's when a neighboring rep senses that he can maybe help his buddy sell and starts reiterating that I really should buy the insurance. No. How many damn times do I have to tell you? After which the store manager notices, cuts in and attempts to cancel the transaction unless I buy the insurance. Normally I should have walked, but this was at a time where I only had my 2 feet to get me places, and this was the only store remotely close to me. I argued that they couldn't do that before the store manager looked at the account and noticed this was my wife's account, not mine. Here's the malicious compliance bit. SM and the rep came to the conclusion that my wife must be an idiot and they could convince her to override my decision because, as per policy, the primary account holder has the final say, right? So they demand to speak to my wife. She tells them no, I'm the one paying for this, and she's not getting involved. SM tries to say that my wife needs to finish the transaction for security purposes. I protest, but at this point, I'm just like, okay, you really want to speak to my wife and let her finish the transaction so badly? Fine, have fun. I tried to save you guys from getting massacred. I know that the PAH has to finish the transaction for security purposes is bullcrap made up on the spot policy, but you know what? Fine, I'll roll with it because my wife is going to verbally butt kick you so hard you'll kiss the moon. She immediately flips the proverbial table in their faces, telling them that if they don't drop the predatory sales tactics, back off and sell the tablet without insurance, to call care from their in-store phones so she can cancel her account and switch to other telecom because she won't stand for being treated like this. Further, she'll be sending an email with every known exec email CC detailing the horrible experience we had today. Doesn't sound like much when I type this, but trust me when I say that I can count on half a hand in my 6 years with this woman that I've ever heard her speak with such disgust and anger, but in a calm and collected manner. They immediately processed everything and apologized profusely because they didn't anticipate that my wife works in sales and is very savvy to this type of bullcrap. They probably expected to have it easy once they got past me. But nope. True to her word, she emailed corporate and we got some huge bill credits for our trouble, and that store manager and rep were never seen again. Not sure if they got fired or shuffled off to another store, but we never saw them again at our local store. And our last story. How to subtly deal with higher-ranking a-holes in the military. It was back in my Navy days. Back in the Navy, I was in the aviation department attached to a carrier, and there was this one guy in another shop, a first-class petty officer, so basically untouchable by someone like me in the lower ranks. Now, I could have very well risen higher in rank as I never partied, never did anything troubling. I am, and almost always will be, a fairly polite and well-behaved man. But unfortunately in this command, you basically need DSLs to get rank. You military folks should know what those are, but as polite as I am, I hate sucking up to people. I find it petty. So unfortunately, I never made rank, ever, so there was a 0% chance of closing the gap between me and this other guy. Now, I am a tad religious, and one of the things I did when I was in the Navy was throw a small portion of my money into a tithe account for charities. Over the years, that account can get kind of fat. This is an important fact. Remember it for later. Now, this first class, let's just call him Polly, textbook D-bag, physically fit, throws people under the bus at every chance, always tan, shows everyone his abs in random conversation. Seriously, he unironically did this regularly. I've never seen him without his designer sunglasses on, and he had a sleeve tattoo of flames over one of his arms. Never did any work or supervising. The only thing he did, as everyone slaved away, was brag about all the women he crushed in the last port. Now, normally I just ignore people I don't like, but as he was about doing his thing, I guess he had some self-confidence issues or whatever as he started to mess with me. Now, one of the things that's annoying as hell is it's always the short ones that try and pick a fight with the tall guy. I'm 6'7", and I don't quite know why, but I guess he needed to prove something. So as I was getting ready for night shift, he strolled by and just started saying everything he could to try and anger me. I ignored him, but later on other days, he would flinch at me like if he was going to take a swing. He would try and publicly embarrass me, and one day he went a little too far. As I can't quite prove it was him, but I found used toilet paper in my bunk. Later, he would speak loudly of how untouchable he was when I was around, that he knew people and would get anyone who hit him dishonorably discharged in a snap. And as fun as it would have been to put him in his place physically, I prefer to do things in a way that can't come back to bite me in the butt. So it wasn't until we pulled in and he was just a few days from leaving the command to another. I was close to my 4 years being up, so I wouldn't really get a chance. Then this event started. Now, the funny thing about tithe money is you have to give it to religious causes or to help someone other than yourself. And our command had an interesting fundraiser. You could donate money to an orphan's Christmas party or something like that, but the amount of money donated would go towards a name. And the top 20 names, no matter their rank or position, would work the galley for the weekend. Now, this is a lot worse than you think. Sure, cleaning dishes kinda sucks, but he had such extreme pride and an ego a mile wide. But not only that, everyone else that the whole ship hates is also working with him. This is an important fact for later. So I donate towards his name. Now the day comes to count up the names and money. They announce the names and how many people voted and how much money was made. Third place was some chief in airframes. He had about 12 people who collectively put in $200 on him. Second place was a third class from the reactor. Over 20 people donated against him, getting around $500. Now, first place, Petty Officer Polly, one donor, $2,000. I was going to put all that money into a worthy charity, just like it, but this was good. The children got a good Christmas party, and the most stuck-up, prideful, untouchable petty officer in the Navy got recognized as the most hated petty officer on the ship, and I lost nothing. I was literally going to do something exactly like that with the money already. Now you might say, so what? A little tap on his pride and cleaning dishes? LOL, no. He was in there with the other 19 most hated petty officers, chiefs, and officers on the ship. You know what that means? Every single tray on a ship with 5,000 sailors was filled to the brim with either the most disgusting or the most difficult crap possible. Usually just filled, smothered, and encrusted with peanut butter, which had to be cleaned off by hand before put in the dishwasher. Now the fun part, they didn't tell us, the higher you were on the list, the less desirable position you got. So when I turned in my peanut butter-covered tray, which a friend of mine generously puked onto for good measure, I got to smile at Petty Officer Polly's elbows deep in the sink with a broken garbage disposal, scraping the crap off everyone's plates. With the crappy setup he had, he basically marinated in that at about 100% humidity for 16 hours a day over the weekend. And I might add that many of us decided we needed seconds on breakfast, lunch, and dinner, sometimes thirds, mostly for peanut butter and whatever my friends would be willing to spit onto my plate. Thankfully, we pulled into port pretty soon after that, and he never really learned that I was the one to put $2,000 on him. I was tempted to tell him, just so would try and get some physical revenge out off base, but I knew he would cry to his supervisors and testify against me if I kicked his crap in, even in self-defense. But yes, I'll always fondly remember the tale of Petty Officer Polly, the biggest D-bag in the Navy. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.